Can I just say what fun it has been watching Maryland football the past 2 years? Last year was a bit more frustrating because we were still getting blown out in the games against the big boys, Michigan, Ohio State, and all that. But really, I think the only really good team that we got blown out by was probably Penn State, because Michigan we only lost by 7, and Ohio State, I mean, yeah, it was a 43-30 final score, but it was 36-30 up until the final play of the game when Tualia fumbled in the end zone, and Ohio State kind of got this weird last-second touchdown. And, it's given me even more hope that we're close. We're close to winning at least one of those games against Michigan or Ohio State, considering the Michigan game was on the road, too. That kind of surprised me. And we did up our win total from a year ago, 8-5. This is our first 8-win season since, I believe, that 2010 year when we went 9-4. I believe was the last time we won over 7 games. It was just nice to see more competitive ball. There were definitely some games where we probably could have escaped. I do believe if we would have went and beat Purdue and maybe even beat Wisconsin, because that was one of the games I think I was really frustrated with, is we're definitely better than Wisconsin, but that was also a game where I think Tualia missed that whole game with an injury, so Edwards had to play, and, we lost, I think it was 23-10 there. So, again, Maryland and a national championship is still far away, but at least we're showing competitiveness in a division where you need to show competitiveness, considering within the next couple of years, UCLA and USC are going to join that division, so it's not going to get much easier for you down that road and whatnot. And I think more, it just feels like for the first time ever that I've watched Maryland football that we have a competent quarterback. I've seen good ones come out here. C.J. Brown, but he was too injury prone. Chris Turner was all right, but never anything spectacular. And, I've lived through some really bad quarterbacks. But when I heard that Tualia was transferring to Maryland from Alabama, I just knew that this program was going to go up. And, credit is due to Mike Locksley. I mean, his first couple of years weren't great because of the team he had to inherit, but now he's kind of got this team in this little, I guess you can say hot streak. People are starting to look up like, oh, this Maryland team is for real. I mean, you think Michigan and Ohio State went out of those games and said, wow, that was the same Maryland team we played last year? No, they said, that was a different Maryland team from a year ago when we absolutely beat the snot out of them. This team has fight, and again, I do believe that eventually that's going to lead to, at least winning one of those games against against Ohio State or Michigan, heck, even Penn State. I feel like for some reason with Penn State, it's like, I don't know what it is, but we can never really score against Penn State to begin with. I have seen us beat Penn State twice since we've been in the Big Ten, but we've only ever beaten them 3 times, so it's not like we're out there beating them often either. So, yeah, they finished this season off with a 16-12 win in the Mayo Bowl, which means poor Mike Locksley gets 4 gallons of mayonnaise dumped on him, but that's just how the tradition of the bowl game. It's like the Cheez-It Bowl. You get Cheez-Its dumped on you. If you're the winning coach, I'd rather have Cheez-Its dumped on me, to be honest with you. I mean, I like mayonnaise, but 4 gallons, that's a little too excessive there. But yeah, it wasn't a perfect game like last year when we absolutely beat the snot out of Virginia Tech 54-10 in our bowl game. This time we're playing NC State, who, people say, oh, well, you were playing their 4th string quarterback, but you got to look at NC State. I mean, had they been healthy, they probably could have been fighting for an ACC title and maybe even a spot in the college football playoff. But somehow they still finished 8-4, and they were ranked. They were ranked 23rd, which I know is kind of low when you talk about being ranked in the top 25. But these are usually the games against the ranked opponents where the Maryland Terps don't necessarily seem to win them a lot. So to beat a ranked opponent like this, especially one that has a really good defense, and you go neck and neck with them. I mean, NC State's defense allowed, just 1 touchdown, but Maryland, their defense allowed 4 field goals, and that was the big thing. I think there was one drive, I remember NC State had the ball 1st and goal at the Maryland 2, and not one time did they run the ball. I know NC State had trouble running the ball the whole game, but you have 4 downs to get 2 yards. You mean to tell me that you can't get that? It just seems so weird to me. I mean, they did just stop Maryland on the opening drive of that game too, but I don't know, it was just weird because they were down 10-3, so that could have potentially tied the game. Instead, they kicked the field goal, made it 10-6, and they could never really, they made it 1 point game a couple of times, but Maryland would always seem to answer back with a field goal themselves. And of course, it was ended with an interception, which I thought was nice. And it was just one of those games where neither quarterback was great. I feel like Tualia definitely played better than Finley because at least he had a TD pass and whatnot. And I will say the second interception by NC State was just a really good play by their defender. You can't necessarily blame Tualia for that one, but I think he made more plays to win, whereas Finley, he's a fourth string redshirt freshman, so Tualia's already got the experience over him. But I mean, when your defense is allowed 16 points, it's one of those things where you can't get in the end zone one time, then it's kind of troubling. It really is. But I know NC State has that trio of linebackers that's just amazing. I know one of them's name was Ingle. For the life of me, I don't know why I can't remember the name of the other two, but like that trio of linebackers is just fantastic. And for Maryland, this is probably their best defensive performance I think I've seen them have, especially in the Mike Locksley era. Because, even when we have played lesser teams like Charlotte and Buffalo, they kind of, move the ball down the field a little bit. And NC State, I guess, was kind of doing that. But I think this is the first time I've ever seen us play a team, especially ranked in the top 25, whether it be like top 10 or where the NC State was at 23, where Maryland did not allow a touchdown at all in the game. Offensively, defensively, special teams, they did not allow NC State to get into the end zone. And you're just seeing more fight from this Maryland team. And even when it looked like NC State was pulling themselves back in it, the momentum would be on their side, there was just that quick flip on the Maryland sideline that was like, all right, let's calm down, let's go, and let's answer. And that's exactly what they did. And I'm proud of this team. I mean, yeah, again, you look at the last 2 years, 7-6 and 8-5, not necessarily spectacular, but you got to look at where Terps fans are coming from. Since that last year with Ralph Friedgen in 2010, where we went 9-4, we were lucky if we were even going to win 6 games in a season. And we did a couple times, but we lost, I think, the bowl game. I think we only had one winning season after that, and we went 0-2 in bowl games, and it just kind of got frustrating to a point where it's like, look, you're in the Big Ten now, you're drawing in more talent from a whatchamacallit standpoint, a recruiting standpoint. You should be getting better. Why are you getting worse? Now, granted, I've sat through coaches like Randy Edsall and all that, and I did really like the Mike Locksley hiring, and now people are starting to see why us as Maryland fans are starting to be like, well, I don't know if we're close to winning a national championship, but my God, it's just good to have a team that's going to go out there every week and just, fight till the end, not give up. And even if they lose, like when we lost to Michigan and Ohio State this year, I said, it's frustrating because I want to beat them, but at the same point in time, I was able to watch the full 4 quarters of the game thinking, we can get this, we can definitely get this, because there wasn't really one point in any of those games where Michigan or Ohio State was blowing us out, whereas the year before, I probably turned those games off at halftime because we were down 31-3 or 35-0, something like that, and I'm like, why am I even wasting my time? But this year, it was different. I mean, both Ohio State and Michigan are playing for a national championship tomorrow. They both have their playoff game tomorrow. Ohio State, as the 4 seed, plays Georgia, and Michigan plays TCU. Both of those teams could very well play each other in the BCS national championship game, and Maryland almost beat both of them. So, I can't really be too upset with those losses because one of them could potentially win the national title. Both of them could end up playing each other in the national title. And to think it was like, wow, you take away that touchdown as time expired against Ohio State, that was just a 6-point game. And we went on the road in Michigan and only lost by 7. Like, they were blowing both of those teams were blowing everybody else out. It's even Michigan blew out Ohio State. And yet we came close both times. It's just something to be proud of, that it's a step in the right direction. Because to be honest with you, in both of those games, I thought maybe we were going to get blown out again, because who knows where Maryland, we always say we're taking a turn or a step in the right direction, and then we never do. But I'm starting to believe that maybe next year 9-10 wins is probably more realistic than it seems. Especially, like I said, if you take that Purdue game, if we get that 2-point conversion, go to overtime, I have a feeling we win that game. That's win number 9 right there. And, there was that Wisconsin game. If Tualia wasn't hurt, we probably win that game and we're 10-2, or maybe even 11-2 to be this season. So, it's just one of those those things where you're going to deal with adversity. And shout out to NC State, too. I mean, for what they had to deal with going through 4 different starting quarterbacks because of injury, multiple injuries on the offensive side of the ball and being carried by their defense, to go 8-5, and they're probably not going to finish ranked in the top 25 now, but to go into your bowl game at 8 wins and be in the top 25, that says a lot about that team, too. Now, these two teams are used to each other. This is the second straight year Maryland's played a former ACC opponent in a bowl game, but this year it was more, Maryland, I mean, their defense did great last year, and of course their offense scored 54 points, but now you're taking on one of the best defenses in the nation, and you were at least able to make more bigger plays, and your defense was just pretty much stellar throughout the whole game. Like, it was a defensive battle for a long time, and, mostly field goals other than the one great catch by, I can't remember the Maryland receiver's name. They were playing with a lot of different receivers today other than Jay Sean Jones, because 3 of their top 4 receivers declared for the draft, so they're getting ready for that. And one of our tight ends, Dupree, ended up transferring to Alabama. So we had pretty much a new receiving core going out there, and I think Tualia did all he could really with that receiving core in general. But yeah, I'm highly proud of this team. Looking forward to next year, especially if Tualia comes back for one more year of eligibility. We still don't know if he's going to declare for the draft or not. I would think he might be back, especially with us showing improvement and how close we are to beating teams like Michigan and Ohio State. He might want one more go at them. I have that feeling. So yeah, hopefully his brother's doing fine too. Is still dealing with concussion protocols and stuff, and that is really, really scary. But it's good to have the younger brother as well on a college team that really needed a quarterback for years, and we finally got one that looks competent and can at least lead us to maybe even a BCS bowl next year. Maryland could probably be ranked and go to a BCS bowl. That's how much I think we've improved and could keep improving going into the next season, especially with Mike Locksley here as the head coach. But yeah, that's my thoughts on this season. Really like to hear what you guys have to think in the comments below about Maryland this season and basically their improvement from a year ago when it came to not only winning more games, but, being more competitive this year than in years past. But until then, I guess I will catch you guys Sunday night after the Ravens-Steelers game.